Hi everyone, and welcome to our weekly highlight video where we go over this week's topic of our webinar, Paperless Learning, and discuss some of the main points that we went over and bring up as well as some questions that were asked that we think are important to address. So this week's topic was how to lesson plan in a remote setting. So as we know, moving from an in-class setting to a virtual one comes with a lot of big changes. And what that means is that we will need to adapt our lessons to suit a remote learning environment. Now, there is some good news. You don't have to scrap your whole lesson and start from scratch. In fact, you can absolutely use it. You'll just have to change a few different things, some of the activities. So for example, what does this look like? Your lesson plan will have to have more independent work in order to suit your new remote learning setting. So teacher-led reports will need to be removed. As we know, online learning, for it to be successful, the students will really have to be autonomous and independent. So in order to do so, we really have to be able to foster that independent work environment by making sure that we put more independent assignments in our lesson plans. If you had any physical games, of course, these would have to be replaced with online activities. So you can do this whether in a live setting or not. So if you are able to deliver live lessons, you can still do some online activities and do it live just simply by sharing your screen. Or if you're more in the position where you're sending in weekly work to your students, you can provide them with different websites to go on and to complete some games or activities for the topic that you are teaching. And if this is your first time using a platform, if it's your first time in a remote setting, if it's the first time your students are in a remote setting, it's okay. It's okay to tell yourself that you're not familiar with this new environment and you're not sure where to start. So a great place to start is to actually just take some tasks that you and your students are already familiar with. So this will allow both you and your students the time to adapt to the new setting, familiarize yourselves with the platforms before you bring on any new activities and really try it out. And as for the time, as we know, we're going to need to adjust our times. We can't manage our students' attention span as well as we can in an in-person setting. So our lessons will need to be shortened for those who are delivering live lessons. So activities will need to be cut in half, if not more, since there are a lot of distractions at home. There are a lot of distractions when students are looking at their screens. So in order to keep your students engaged throughout the whole lesson, make sure that it's short and sweet. And if you are sending out assignments to your students, clear deadlines have to be outlined in your lesson plan. This is very, very important. So students need to know when they're expected to hand in which work in order to be successful in their learning. And from there, the students can learn at their own pace and complete the assignments at their own pace. It's also to remember that not all parents are teachers, and right now a lot of them are at home with their children, helping them with their schoolwork. And a lot of them are overwhelmed because they're receiving packets and packets of lesson plans and they're not sure where to start. So it's really important to remember that this is new for us, it's new for our students, but it's new for the parents as well. So make sure that your lesson plans are clear and concise, and just going off of that, if there's a way for you to be able to set up some virtual office hours for students and parents to check in, to ask for clarification on any specific point of the lesson, this would really be great for the success of your students and for yourself as well. So what this can look like, we actually had someone ask us how they could use Zoom to set in some check-ins. So the good news is that you don't have to hand out your personal phone number. You can simply just set up a Zoom meeting, make sure that the parents and students know exactly when they'd be able to check in with you. And when you set up your meeting, you're provided with a phone number. So this phone number you can provide to your students. And for those who don't have access to the internet, or maybe who don't want to sign into Zoom in order to join you, can use that phone number to call into the meeting. So then that way you'd be able to talk to each other that way and check in with your students in that way. If you want to know more specifically what this looks like for a lesson plan, we did go over section by section and break down a simple lesson plan on similes in our webinar this week. So you'll be able to find the recording of our Tuesday session on our YouTube page. So you can go there and look to see the breakdown of the lesson plan and how we change that lesson plan specifically to suit a remote learning environment. Up on the screen right now, you see there are some available platforms. So these are some platforms that, that can facilitate your online teaching and online learning adventure. So you'd be able to look at these. Some of these are more specific platforms to help deliver your classes. Others are more for different online activities that you can use with your students. So I would highly suggest to look into these and see what they can do for you. So we hope to see you at next week's webinar. So they are every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time and every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. We post on our blog, which the link is over here, blog.paper.co. We post on our blog every Monday about the webinar with the registration link. You can also find us on Eventbrite as of the previous Wednesday. And on our blog, you'd also be able to find a lot of different information on different interviews that we're doing with people and just how we are all dealing with this new reality of ours. So next week we're going to cover classroom management in a remote setting. And we'd love to hear from you. So please post in the comments what kinds of topics you'd like to hear from us in the future. And if you have any questions for us, we'll be happy to answer. So we hope to see you then.